So it's important to note that President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have a relationship from President Trump's first term. They were on great terms. They actually see the world very similarly. They have domestic problems, both legal troubles as well as sort of domestic concerns in terms of popularity amongst their own populations. But at the same time, they are allies. And it's long been believed that Prime Minister Netanyahu wanted Trump to win over Vice President Harris, believing that she would take a harder stance towards Israel. And so moving forward, we've heard President Trump support Israel's right to go after Hamas or after Hezbollah, but at the same time encourage them to actually do it faster, to get it over with.
Right. Welcome to Reporter's Notebook, where we talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the stories breaking on their beats. I'm Jim Antle, and I'm joined today by defense reporter Mike Brest. Mike, Donald Trump is returning to the White House. The voters have spoken. What does that mean for Ukraine, for one thing?
So this was not what Ukraine was hoping for. This was not their desired outcome. And a big part of that is because everything we've heard from former President and now President-elect Donald Trump and his now Vice President-elect J.D. Vance is that they've been a lot more skeptical about continuing to provide U.S. military aid to Ukraine. And so at a time when Russia is getting help from North Korea in terms of troops to fight Ukraine, we're seeing, one of the biggest moments right now in whether the U.S. will continue to support Ukraine militarily.
So obviously, Trump has had diplomatic relationships with Zelensky. He's had them with Vladimir Putin. He's had talks with the North Korean regime that a lot of world leaders and current U.S. presidents haven't had. How much do these types of relationships play into what might happen?
So all of this is obviously speculative, but there is some hope that the former president, now president-elect, could broker a ceasefire, a cessation of hostilities between Russia and Ukraine. But at the same time, when former President Trump says he could solve this conflict in 24 hours, at this exact point, the only way that could happen conceivably is if Ukraine gave up all of its preconditions that they've been so far unwilling to give up. And so it would be forcing the Ukrainians to accept a hand that they're not interested in accepting at this point. That being said, former President Trump has said he would threaten to withhold their aid to get Ukraine to the negotiating table, but he would also threaten Russia with giving Ukraine more aid as a way to get them to the table. And so President Trump really sort of positioned himself as the ending war presidential candidate, and so I think that is sort of the mentality he'll take to both that conflict and as well as what's going on in the Middle East.
So you bring up the Middle East, and obviously Trump has taken a pretty hawkish line on Iran and some other things. How does this affect the war in Gaza and U.S. relationship with Israel?
So it's important to note that President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have a relationship from President Trump's first term. They were on great terms. They actually see the world very similarly. They have domestic problems, both legal troubles as well as sort of domestic concerns in terms of popularity amongst their own populations. But at the same time, they are allies. And it's long been believed that Prime Minister Netanyahu wanted Trump to win over Vice President Harris, believing that she would take a harder stance towards Israel. And so moving forward, we've heard President Trump support Israel's right to go after Hamas or after Hezbollah, but at the same time encourage them to actually do it faster, to get it over with.
Right.
It's because of President Trump's background in the media, and as a media figure, he knows about optics. He cares about optics. He even talks about the optics of sort of the horrifying pictures that have come out of Gaza and southern Lebanon. And so he's posited himself as the candidate who will end the wars. And so he's encouraged, and he's spoken to Prime Minister Netanyahu already. He's encouraged Netanyahu to sort of do whatever it takes to end the wars, accomplish the goals, so they can all move forward. We also know from President Trump's first term, the Abraham Accords, or getting Middle Eastern countries to normalize relationships with Israel and to recognize Israel's existence. And so that will likely be a key part of former President Trump's new foreign policy in the Middle East.
So Prime Minister Netanyahu has had a little bit of upheaval within his own government, has he not?
He has. He fired Defense Minister Yoav Gallant earlier this week in what was considered a big moment, in part because it happened on Election Day. And so insiders believe this was intentional, in part because the U.S. would be too focused on Election Day to actually respond to the news. Yoav Gallant has been an ally of the United States as the U.S. tries to somewhat limit what Israel's doing as it relates to the large population center type attacks. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mike. You can read Mike and the rest of our national security team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.